and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, joined by my co-host, Daniel Bobo Carlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
That somehow by luck it wasn't sweltering hot at the warehouse.
Very nice. It sounds like you broke up a little bit at the beginning.
I said it was one of those days that it wasn't sweltering hot at the warehouse by luck.
Ah, very nice, very nice. Well, we haven't hit those mid 90s, high 80s days yet, so hopefully it stays cool for you in there.
Yeah. That's the one thing. Aside from that, I'd rather have this weather over the freaking worrying about having to get slipped in the snow and being freezing cold any day. But that's the only thing is that it gets sweltering hot in that warehouse.
Very true, very true. Well, glad to hear that it's not sweltering yet in there, buddy. And yeah, man, so a lot to get into today. Thank you, everybody, once again for joining us here on Best Seat in the House podcast, episode 19. Yeah, it sounds like you dropped off there, Danny. Are you good? Can you hear me?
Oh, while we're doing this.
Actually, maybe you should just take that and disconnect it because it seems like for some reason that's not working. But okay, at least we got that out of the way now, so we'll try and fix that thing hopefully over the weekend or something. But either way, want to thank everybody once again for joining us here. Episode 119. Got a lot to get into today. Obviously, if you're a Patreon member, you're watching this live right now. If not, thank you for joining us here on YouTube in our weekly spot. And also, we got a lot, like I said, a lot to get into. Mets coming back from England, playing a, I guess you could call it a big series against the Marlins at Citi Field that started last night. We got, the Yankees looking to complete the sweep against the Royals as they avoided the sweep themselves against the Dodgers at Yankee Stadium on Sunday night. And a couple of football notes and everything. We'll take a look at the Stanley Cup and NBA Finals real quick. And a bunch of stuff, like I said, for the fifth time in the first 3 minutes of the show. A lot to get into tonight. Dan, before we get into all this right now, what is the top of your card right now? When you're looking at everything I just mentioned, what is the burning topic for you?
Yeah, just right now. It's just I'm seeing yesterday's Met game as the bats fell flat once again. I don't know what I don't know what happened, and talk about bad timing. I was out of rum.
Yeah, so you got nothing to give Joe Boo, and hopefully to curry a favor and get the Mets a little better mojo. Apparently nothing's really worked for the Mets this year. You're right about that, buddy. But so, let's start with the Mets. Obviously, it's the topic that we usually do spend the most time on, as me and you are both big Met fans. It really hasn't been that way over the last couple of months during the extended Rangers playoff run. But now over the summer, we're right back where we started, baby. Talking Mets baseball. And so if you were paying attention over the weekend, Mets and the Phillies played in London. Phillies won the Saturday game 7-2. Mets had a really fun comeback to watch on Sunday, believe it or not, as they ended up winning that game 6-5. They were trailing late, tied it up, pulled ahead, and got the victory over there. But, a lot of people, not me, because I pretty much am resigned to the fact that this is not a playoff team that we're watching here. This is a 75 win team for the Mets, in my opinion. But a lot of people were getting a little, you know, ahead of themselves with this Met comeback against the Phillies, who, by the way, are the best team in baseball right now. And it felt to me like a lot of Met fans were thinking that this could be, a beginning of something good for this team where they can, turn this into maybe an extended winning streak. And just like you said, they come home, boom, Tuesday night. They have off on Monday. Tuesday night, nothing. You get nothing. You get a decent performance out of Tyler McGill, and the Bats are nowhere there to back him up. A 4-2 loss to the Marlins, who are worse than the Mets. I mean, it just drives you crazy sometimes.
Yeah, it does. All right. And I just feel it was just another one of those games that just gave me PTSD from 2007 and 2008. And maybe because it's a team from South Florida, Eastern Conference Finals PTSD.
That's true too. We are sick of losing to teams from Florida, so hopefully the that tonight and it's going to be nice over the next couple of days because they're going to be getting a little bit more healthy, as we found out. By the way, caught a no-hitter for the Cyclones last week, which is pretty cool. He caught all 9 innings as well in his rehab assignment. He rejoined the team last night as been out since April with the fractured finger, but Alvarez back in that lineup has got to be a very welcome sight for every Met fan, right, Dan?
Yeah. Francisco Alvarez back. I just wish the rest of the team was able to carry some of the weight a little bit, because it felt like Alvarez was a little bit rusty, as I would expect him coming off the IL, having been off the IL for quite some time and facing big league pitching for the first time in a while, coming back from surgery. So
I agree with you. Yeah,
I'm hopeful, and I just have a feeling that once he kind of gets that rest off,
yeah. Well, look, he's definitely going to take a couple of games to round into shape. Not many guys are like, it's something that you don't really see too often. Guys, especially coming back from minor league rehab assignments or extended absences, usually have to find a way to get themselves back on track. I expect Alvarez will be back to his full self within a couple of games, maybe a week, the most. But yeah, man, Francisco Alvarez back out there, good to see. I agree with you though. When you look at this Mets team, you'd think that they would be able to hold up better while he was down. You got the big boppers in JD Martinez and Pete Alonso, and Starlin Marte has been pretty decent this year, coming off one of his worst years of his career last year. Marte's looked pretty good, except for defensively, man. The one thing that I loved about Starling Marte, his first year in a Met uniform, was he seemed like a real positive defensively. He seemed like this guy could go out there and play great defense. He had a fantastic arm, and he still has a pretty good arm too. But this guy's defense has dropped substantially. Did you know that Starling Marte is actually the worst rated right fielder in Major League Baseball? He has -8 runs saved, which is by far the worst in baseball so far. So really questionable defense coming from one of their top guys so far.
Yeah, this one shocked me that it turned out this way. I did not expect that from Arte. Talk about a quick descend. I have just.
It's true, man. He kind of dropped off the face of the earth, at least defensively so far. So that really stinks, unfortunately. And then his offense has been okay. It's a little consistent, but his offense has been okay. Defense has been terrible. We said that. So, a guy like Starling Marte, they really need to hold him down. That's why, since he really hasn't, a guy like Francisco, a guy like, for example, Alvarez, now with his team, and not only do they need his bat and they need his defense because he is a pretty good defensive catcher. On top of that, they just need his spark in the clubhouse, man. One thing that we noticed when the Rangers were on their run going to the Eastern Conference Final this year was one guy that all they had to do was tap on his shoulder and throw him in the game was Matt Rempe. And not only did he send a lightning bolt through the crowd, he sent a lightning bolt through his own team, and the guys fed off of it. And I feel like Alvarez, in a lot of ways, could have a very similar impact on this Mets team,
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it was only one game. I'm hopeful that maybe this gives a spark and a nice good stretch of winning the next couple of weeks. Hopefully sets us up right there in that position we need to be at the trading deadline, and hopefully Dumpster Dave doesn't half-ass it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he's gotten used to dumpster diving so far, so it wouldn't surprise me because I still think that I hear Met fans trying to talk themselves into the fact that the Mets are going to make a splash at the trade deadline. I think they're out of their fucking minds. The Mets are selling off at the trade deadline. I mean, we know it. That was, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but the Mets only tanked this season so they could sell everybody off. That's it. I honestly think the Mets went into this year knowing it was going to be a terrible year, and they're going to trade Pete Alonso. It's going to make it easier to trade Alonso, and they'll probably trade a couple of other guys too around there, potentially even Edwin Diaz, who, by the way, let's take a look at him for a sec. Edwin Diaz now is set to rejoin the team tomorrow night from the IL. I believe he had an impingement in his shoulder, which kept him out for the better part of the last month, but he's back. And Carlos Mendoza says that he'll resume the closer's role. Now, let me ask you this, Dan, because I thought it was stupid in the beginning of the year when Diaz was pretty good at the beginning. Then he had about 2 or 3 bad save opportunities in a row, and the Mets immediately pulled him as the closer, and they were using Ottavino, and they were using, just anybody that they're not named Edwin Diaz. Now, I understand if you're in a pennant race and it's August and September and this guy's blowing games and you just can't afford it. I totally get it. Then you got to do what you got to do. But we're in April and May and now June in a season where the Mets aren't going anywhere. Let's be honest. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not doing anything. They've probably already played their last meaningful game of the year, which was probably back in April before all this shit happened. But when you look at it, why are you going to mess with Edwin Diaz? You signed him to a 5-year, $100 million contract, so you're obligated to make sure this guy figures it out. If this season is going to be in the dumpster anyway, why are you messing with Diaz? Let him figure it out on the fly and keep the guy as the closer. I don't want to see them messing around with him and sticking him in the 7th inning. If he blows a couple of games, who gives a shit? The season's over anyway.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, they're just let them close. It's pretty much they might be building toward next year.
Yeah, let him figure it out. Let him get his confidence back. It's like people forgot that the guy missed all of 2023. And people expect him to come back and be the same exact Edwin Diaz that he was in October of 2022 when he was the best closer on the planet. I mean, look, do I get frustrated with Diaz when he struggles sometimes? Yeah, of course I do. But I want to see the guy work it out, figure it out. He sucked in 2019, and then he figured it out after that. Let him figure it out again. The guy's obviously got the stuff. He's just got to get his head right and maybe his mechanics and things along those lines. Let him do it on the mound and in the 9th inning when it counts. Don't let him do it in the 7th inning when then you're going to have to move him again. Oh, man, he's had 3 or 4 really good innings in the 7th inning, now. Let's put him back in the 9th inning. and then you're asking him to shift gears again. Just don't mess with the guy. Let him figure it out on his own. Carlos Mendoza, do me a favor. Take your hands off Edwin Diaz and put them behind your back, because you're probably not going to be the Mets manager for very long anyway.
Carlos Mendoza get 1 year, a very short leash.
Yeah, he's definitely on a really short leash, no doubt about it. And but the thing is, to be honest, he's on a really short leash for me and you. I don't, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope maybe Steve Cohen forces his hand, but I don't see David Stearns admitting he was wrong after 1 year. You know what I mean? I don't see David Stearns taking an L, as they say. I think David Stearns is going to sit here and tell everybody else that they're wrong until he either gets fired or proves us wrong. Which, by the way, David Stearns and Steve Cohen, nothing would make me happier than to sit here a couple of months from now or a year from now, whenever that may be, and say, holy shit, was I wrong about Steve Cohen and David Stearns? I'm an idiot. These guys know exactly what they're doing, and they got this team on the right path. But guess what? Right now, in June 2024, the Mets suck, and it's their fault. And I don't want to spend, the rest of this summer even, convincing myself that this team is going to make the playoffs like I did last year when there's no shot. They're not going to do it. They were set up to fail from the beginning of this season. And the fact you could tell that's a fact when Luis Torrens comes in here and is lighting the world on fire, and Jose Iglesias comes in here and is lighting the world on fire. And it's only because Met fans are so desperate for anything. We haven't gotten anything from the guys in this team that are supposed to be doing it,
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I'm shocked about, how not rushing to give this guy a shot, Acuna. I forget his first name.
Luis Angel
Acuna. I think they should call him up and give him a shot.
You know what? The funny thing is, Dan, I'm 100% with you. I want to see him. I want to see Drew Gilbert. I want to see the other kid, Jet Williams. I want to see a bunch of these kids, because if you're not going to at least play meaningful baseball, give us 2004, 2005, when we had the young kids out there like David Wright and Jose Reyes, and we could see what was eventually going to become of this Mets team, and those guys were the pillars for the next couple of years on this team. I want to see stuff like that. I don't want to see guys like, look, Luis Torrens and Jose Iglesias, they're nice role players, but the odds are both of those guys aren't going to be on the team next year. When you look at a lot of the guys on this team, there's a chance a lot of the guys outside of the core, I was going to say Alonso, but he should be in the core, and he should have gotten a contract years ago as soon as it was over. But the Mets didn't do that because they're assholes. And, now Pete Alonso's probably gone, if not July, definitely after the season. And I'm just annoyed that, when you look at Francisco Lindor, I like Lindor, but he's not the player we thought he was, man. This guy's he's hitting 230 every year. And in April and May, it's even worse than that. He's not even hitting 200. So I don't know. I feel like from the owner down, Met fans were sold a bill of goods and lied to and just led down the wrong path once again.
Yeah, and I feel the other mistake that's happened is that they let it get to the point where Alonso got Scott Boras as his agent. They could have locked him. They should have locked him up before he even thought of even the word Scott Boras. That scares me, the word Scott Boras.
But you know what, Dan? I agree that Scott Boras, can strike fear in the heart of certain owners. But those owners and those teams that he strikes fear in the heart of should only be small market shit teams, just like the Mets were when the Wilpons were running things. with the richest owner in North American sports, Steve Cohen, who's worth right around $15 billion. That should not be an issue. You know what I mean? When Aaron Judge, who we're going to talk about right now in a second, when Aaron Judge goes out there and is a free agent and the Yankees screwed that up and they ended up paying a couple extra million for it, you know, when that happened, everybody expected, oh, Judge is going to the Giants, Judge is going here, Judge is going there. Guess what? The Yankees bit the bullet, and the Yankees said, screw it, we're going to pay this guy, he's our guy, and we're going to keep him. $360 million later, Aaron Judge is a Yankee for life. Now, it's not even going to cost the Mets anywhere near that amount of money to keep Pete Alonso, and they're still not going to do it. Isn't that a disgrace? What's the point of having the richest owner in sports if he's not going to keep a guy you should be building a team around?
They should re-sign him today.
They should have re-signed him 3 years ago, but you're right.
I would only be happy if they did a situation where they traded him and re-signed him in the offseason.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen with stars. That very, very rarely. The only time I can really even remember that happening with a guy that you could consider a star is Aroldis Chapman, when the Yankees traded him to the Cubs and then he came right back. But other than that, I mean, it's very tough to look at a situation where a team traded a player that's, a star player, and then he ends up going back to that team. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm sure it's happened a couple of other times, but it's not going to happen for the Mets. I'll tell you that much. And if
here there's going to be one of either two scenarios: one, either sign him, or two, it becomes the worst tragedy since 1977. It becomes our generation's 1977.
Well, I fully expect it to. I agree with you on that. It seems like that's the way we're heading. And I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans thought that too, prior to Aaron Judge re-signing with them. But luckily for the Yankee fans out there, which, by the way, right now, the Mets just started against the Florida Marlins. And Dan, I want to give you a live score update as Harrison Bader just cranked a 2-run shot to drive in himself and Francisco Lindor. And in the bottom of the first inning, the Mets lead the Marlins 2-0.
Finally, get first inning runs.
Yeah, from Harrison Bader too, who has surprised me at times this year. So I want to give a little credit to Harrison Bader there. He's definitely a plus defender, but his bat has been up and down over the years, but he's been pretty consistent this year. So shout out to Harrison Bader there. But I do want to turn the page to the Yankees right now, as we'll keep you updated with the Mets as we continue to go on. Yankees don't start for another hour as they're playing in Kansas City. But the Yankees have been doing some damage, man. The Yankees played the Dodgers, and it was probably the game of the year on Friday night, where they lost 2-1 in 11 innings. It was scoreless going into extras. Just a phenomenal game from every angle. Yoshinobu Yamamoto threw a gem for the Dodgers, 7 shutout innings to set them up, and the Yankees just couldn't push one across. Soto was out on for most of the weekend series against the Dodgers. He appeared as a pinch hitter late in the game on Sunday, but didn't really matter as the Yankees had it over anyway. But he returned to the lineup on Monday night, which is great news for the Yankees, as the Yankees beat Seth Lugo. And, that's one thing, too. A lot of people have been critical of the Yankees and what pitching they're beating up on and this and that and stuff like that. But let's be honest, Seth Lugo has been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year by far, and the Yankees knocked him around for 4 or 5 runs on Monday night. And, that just goes to show how deep and good this Yankee lineup is, right?
Yeah, they just had lucked out. It just annoys me that how come the Yankees luck out like this?
Well, you can't say luck out. I mean, I know what you mean, but you can't say luck out, man. That lineup is good. That lineup is deep, and they're just playing great baseball. I hate to say it, but the Yankees right now are probably the front runners in the American League to come out for the World Series. So it's very close. It's probably them for the American League, and the Phillies in the National League right now is the two best teams.
All I can tell you is that if it's a World Series between the Yankees and the Phillies, I ain't watching that World Series because I couldn't stomach it. I can't between the two teams I despise.
I hear you. Just like 2009, but hey, this is the situation we're in right now, and unfortunately, the Mets are just as shitty now as they were in 2009. So it's looking pretty similar.
I think that'll be saving graces. There'll be another thing for me to watch during that time of October. Around that time, hockey's still starting up, so at least I don't have to see a World Series at all. That's gonna be tough to stomach.
Yep. Well, if the Yankees do get there, it'll be their first time since 2009. Still, by the way, the last team to make the World Series for a New York sports team is the Mets in 2015. This is the Yankees' longest drought going with the World Series since they went from 1981 to 1996 without making the playoffs. So it's been a while since the Yankees had a World Series drought of even appearing in it this long. So it's been a while. Definitely have to take note of that. The Yankees could put an end to that streak this year, and they could put an end to the New York championship streak this year, which, by the way, also hasn't won a championship since 2011 with the Giants. So it's been quite some time. And if the Yankees are going to get there, the guy that's going to bring them there is Aaron Judge, man. And just look at these numbers. I look at what Aaron Judge has done, and it's insane. It's video game numbers. If I was putting up these numbers in a month in MLB The Show, I'd turn the game off and say it's unrealistic. This is ridiculous, man. He has been and red hot is an understatement. 21 home runs in 41 games. Are you insane? 36 game on base streak. And on top of that, look at this. Look at this, everybody. This is a little graphic they had on Twitter. And from good old Max Goodman at Max T. Goodman. You can check this out. So on April 27th, a lot of people were talking about how Aaron Judge was off to a real bad start. And he was. Judge was only hitting 178 with a 317 on base percentage and slugging only 356 to the tune of a 674 OPS, which that's bad numbers, even if your name isn't Aaron Judge. But boy, has this guy straightened himself out in the 40 games since then. 399, 520, and 957 to the tune of a 1477 OPS. You've got to be kidding me. It just doesn't seem real. This guy is on a different level, Dan.
Yeah, this is just insane. Also, I gotta say, when I used to make the joke about bandwagon Yankee fans wearing Jeter jerseys, safe to say that half these bandwagon Yankee fans are wearing Aaron Judge jerseys.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying. But yeah, man, I mean, it's warranted. It's warranted. This guy is so freaking good right now. I almost want to wear his jersey, and I hate the Yankees. That's how good Aaron Judge is. It is just insane. I look at his numbers, and it's just crazy. You think with even Soto going down for a couple of days that maybe Judge wouldn't see as many good pitches as he's been seeing, or maybe they would approach the pitching would approach Judge differently. Well, even if they did, it didn't matter because this guy is still just out there hammering the ball, and it's fun to watch, man. I got to say, watching Aaron Judge is fun. It just makes me wish that the Mets had a player like that. And Pete Alonso is a great player that I love, and me and you have spoken at length about how we think he deserves a huge contract extension. But Pete Alonso is not the type of player that Aaron Judge is. Judge is the guy that can hit you 300. Judge is the guy that can have an on base of 400, and Judge is the guy that can hit you 50 home runs. So, as much as I love Pete, Aaron Judge is a far superior player.
think the question that's going to be on a lot of Yankee fans' mind is, will he be able to come through in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely fair, because guess what? If Derek Jeter, had his same regular season numbers and went out there and hit, 240 in the playoffs and never won a World Series ring, then Yankee fans would not think, anything close to what they think of him today. He certainly would not have been the captain, and he certainly would not have, the type of respect that he's garnered over his Yankees career. And Aaron Judge, though, I do want to give him credit. He's played a lot of playoff games for the Yankees so far, 44 playoff games, and 13 home runs. He certainly hit his fair share of home runs during that time. But the thing that does stick out when you look at Aaron Judge's playoff stats is that he's only hitting .211. And not only that, when you look at his series record for 2017 to 2022, because the Yankees did not make the playoffs last year, he's played in 12 playoff series and he's 6-6. So, that's certainly no Jeter resume, right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Yankees are only going to go as far as Judge can go.
Yeah, well, you know what, too? The big thing for the Yankees, in my opinion, is that now when they have when they get to the playoffs, Judge is going to have to be clutch. I don't know if he's going to have to hit 400 or whatever, or 300, whatever the deal is, but he's going to have to be clutch. And Garrett Cole, who's been a very good postseason pitcher for the Yankees so far, I want to give him credit too, when he gets healthy, which should be in the next couple of weeks, and that they hope to have him right by October. But you got to pair him with another guy, and the Yankees right now hope that that Carlos Rodon is that guy, as Carlos Rodon's got out there and he's won 5 straight starts for the first time in his career, and he's looking like a really, really big threat for the Yankees in that rotation. And if you could pair them together, him and Rodon, and maybe this kid Gill, who's been incredible for the Yankees so far this year, can keep that going and parlay that into the postseason, man, the Yankees are going to be in really good shape if they could keep this pitching going too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also going to be, like you said, it's also going to be on how much they can get from Cole with the second half.
Yep. That's going to be a big situation unfolding for them. All right, so that's pretty good. I think we've done a good job so far. Dan, we knocked off the baseball in the first half of the show. So the second half of the show, let's turn our attention to a couple of other things real quick. I don't know how much of look, when my team gets eliminated from the playoffs, whatever sport it is, I usually end up tuning in again, especially if they get knocked out early. But I usually have to take a round off, So that makes it difficult when your team loses in the championship series, because, then the World Series, the Stanley Cup, the NBA Final, whatever it is, your heart isn't in it, And I feel like my heart has not been in watching any of the Stanley Cup playoffs since the day the New York Rangers got eliminated a week or two ago. However, I do have to say, it's been very interesting so far in this series, as if you're paying attention or not. Here's the update. The Florida Panthers currently lead and bless you, buddy. The Florida Panthers currently lead the Stanley Cup final 2-0 over the Edmonton Oilers. And one thing that really stands out to me, man, is the fact that a lot of Rangers fans, myself included, and I'm sure you too, were extremely frustrated by some of the Rangers' top guys in Artemi Panarin and, Mika Zibanejad, and even Chris Kreider, who, as great as he was when he had that, the hat trick in Game 6 against the Carolina Hurricanes, didn't do anything of note against the Panthers in the conference final. And even Panarin, the only thing he did was score that one goal in the final minute and a half of regulation of the entire series. And that's the only thing he did the entire series. So, a lot of frustration with Rangers fans there. But what I do want to shine a light on is, the Edmonton Oilers have a better group of forwards than the Rangers do. The Edmonton Oilers might, in my opinion, probably aren't as good of a team as the Rangers had this year, especially defensively. But the Edmonton Oilers have damn good forwards, starting and ending with Connor McDavid. And then, you have Leon Draisaitl, and it just goes on and on and on from there. Draisaitl and McDavid alone are two of the best forwards in hockey, and the Florida Panthers have shut that forward group down in the first two games, including a shutout in Game 1, just like Bobrovsky did to the Rangers in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final and almost did in Game 6. So it's, I do want to say that it doesn't make me feel better, but it also kind of shows and shines a light on how damn good defensively the Florida Panthers are, because, obviously they shut our guys down, but they're shutting these guys down too. And these guys are better than our guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the same time, when I looked at the Eastern Conference Finals, it felt was going to win the Stanley Cup Finals, and it just felt like Edmonton was going to be a very beatable team, and it just feels like this could have been us.
I agree. I've been having a lot of that same feeling too, because when I was looking at the conference finals together before they started, and we knew who was going to be in it, I thought the Rangers could beat Florida. I knew it was going to be tough, and I figured it was going to take at least 6, probably even 7 games. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way in favor of the Rangers. But when I looked at the Western Conference Finals, and I said to myself, as a Rangers fan, which team would I rather play? The answer was the Edmonton Oilers. And that's no disrespect to them. I just think that, they can be very lackadaisical defensively, which the Rangers could take advantage of. And the Dallas Stars are a damn good defensive team. So it just goes to show you that as good as the Oilers are too, I'm surprised they got past Dallas. And when they did get past Dallas, I was thinking to myself, geez, maybe the Edmonton Oilers are going to go out there and surprise everybody and put up a really good fight against the Panthers. And while neither of these games have been a blowout per se, the Panthers have clearly been the better team for the first 2 games.
Yeah, it felt like that when I was watching the Eastern Conference Finals. It was like I was looking at one of these 2 teams was going to win the Stanley Cup. I felt like, because it's just both of them. It was like shutout goaltending, and at times it was going to come down to that, and we were on the short end of it.
Yeah, it's true, man. Now, a lot of people too have been pointing out the fact that the Oilers have not played a home game yet, and a lot of people say that the Edmonton Oilers, the fans, much like the Rangers fans fed off Matt Rempe, and the team fed off that, and that kept going back and forth between the fan base and the teams and everything like that. The Edmonton Oilers fan base is the same thing like that. They energize that team, and all it takes is one big hit if they start to quiet down. They get right back into it, and that's a really good, dedicated fan base up there that hasn't won a championship since 1990. So they're hungry. And by the way, Canada itself hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993. So it's been a long time too for that. And what do you think, Dan? Do you think that that it's going to bother Florida at all playing in Edmonton? Or do you think that this series can kind of start to shift a little bit, maybe not towards Edmonton just, plowing through everything and win the next 4, but making this a much more competitive series over the next 5 games?
My gut feeling says it's probably the series is going to end in 5 games. But
okay.
Same time, I feel Edmonton needs to win both games to get the series to get back in this. They need to win both games 3 and 4 to get back in this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on to go down 3-1.
I feel if they don't win game both 3 and 4, it's pretty much the writing might be on the wall that they might be done.
And can you imagine too what that place is going to look like in Florida if, let's just say, they split in Edmonton and it goes back to Florida 3-1 with a chance for them to clinch and win the cup in Game 5 in Florida? That place is going to be going nuts.
Well, I don't know about going nuts, all right? Because I'm pretty sure a parade with them won't be nearly as packed as Rangers winning a championship.
Oh, come on. That is true, but give them credit, man. That place is going to be going nuts when they win.
I'll give them credit. All 5 of their actual fans, like a bunch of front runners, because I didn't see many of these during the regular season. And most of the time, the Florida is a lot of visiting teams fans.
It is. It is. Even like when they played the Rangers. The Rangers had a really good showing there for our fan base down there. So
Did I see it on TV even during the playoffs? I saw it during on TV. Plus, you saw it in person. You were actually there 2 years ago.
yep, right before they went on their cup run, and there was more Rangers fans in the building at the end of the season too. So it's there's a lot of Rangers fans there. So I've been in that building twice, and the Rangers are 2-0. So maybe if they play them again in the playoffs next year, I'll have to go to a game.
Yeah. Maybe we both need to bring the Bobo and Cramer mojo if they the playoffs next year. We need to bring the double mojo to the.
Exactly. They need the Beast Boys to wake them up.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you on that. And excuse me. But yeah, yeah, I agree with you, man. So let's maybe we'll get that rematch next year with the Rangers and the Panthers, and let's take a look over at the NBA now too. Maybe we'll get a rematch with the Knicks and the Pacers as well. But maybe we'll finally be getting that real meaningful Knicks Celtics playoff series. As next year the Celtics could be at this time the defending NBA champions, as they're currently up 2-0 on the Mavericks right now. And to be honest, this looks like even more of a foregone conclusion to me that the Celtics are going to win this series than even the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. The Celtics are just such a deep team, and it's such a shame seeing what happened. Even though look, I do still harbor some anger and resentment towards Kristaps Porzingis for what happened here, and not only for what happened there, for him now coming back to the East and going to the freaking Boston Celtics. It makes me sick, especially the fact that he's going to win a championship. It just reminds me of like Travis Darno going to the Braves and winning a championship with him. Just a punch to the gut that you didn't need. So seeing Porzingis go there and win a ring does make me sick, but I don't want to see the guy get hurt either. And unfortunately, Porzingis got hurt again for like the 3rd time this postseason. And they're saying that he's questionable for Game 3. They might give him a day, and he's going to come back in Game 4. So what do you think, Dan, about Porzingis and his injury problems and keeping him healthy for the NBA Finals?
Yeah, it looks like unfortunately, it looks like Porzingis could be out for the whole rest of the playoffs. But at the same time, I feel like the Celtics look like such a deep team that I feel it's probably going to be I guess the equivalent of a 4 game. I feel like they could either sweep or it'll be done and over with in 5 games.
Yeah, I feel like 5. 5 is what I feel like. I feel like it'll be they'll split down in Dallas, and then the Celtics will wrap it up in Game 5. But anything can happen. And also, real quick, live score update: Mets and the Marlins. So while we were talking, the Mets did blow their lead, and it was 2-2. However, Francisco Alvarez, like we mentioned, fresh off the IL, came in and singled to put the Mets up 3-2. And that was followed by another base hit to put the Mets up 4-2. So they currently have runners on first and third. They are leading 4-2 with nobody out in the bottom of the second inning.
Yeah, and I feel like now that Alvarez is starting to wake up. Also, I gotta say about that game, the Mets, they need to call up what's his name, Zach Scott. They need to call him back up now. I feel like.
Oh, Christian Scott, you mean?
Christian Scott, yeah, Christian Scott.
Well, look, they should have never sent him down. It was stupid to send him down in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was stupid to send him down.
Yeah, well, so let's hope the Mets hold on to this one. But let's wrap it up with some with the NBA Finals here right now. So Dan, just to close this one down before we move on to last couple of topics of the day, a couple of NFL minicamp notes. So right now, do you expect Porzingis? If you had to guess right now, does Kristaps Porzingis come back in this series, and do the Celtics hold on to win, and how many games?
I feel they're going to win this in 5. Also, I feel it could be 50-50 if Porzingis returns.
I mean, that is true, but right now, on the spot, if you had to take a guess, is yes or no?
He's going to return.
So that's a yes?
Yes, that's not going to return.
Cool. I think I'm with you. Actually, to be honest, I think I'm with you on all of that. I think Porzingis will come back, and I do think that it'll probably be wrapped up in 5 games as well. It's crazy, though. As good as the Mavericks are, you see Luka and Kyrie Irving just really meshing so well on the court there. Luka's a superstar, and Kyrie, might not be as good as he was a couple of years ago, but he's still a pretty damn good basketball player. And it just goes to show how deep the Celtics are. The Celtics have such a good team, and I just can't wait for this season to be over. And hopefully they lose a couple of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope the Knicks have a big off season.
Yeah, they're gonna need one. They're gonna need one if they're gonna be relevant in the East next year. And speaking of, Dan, are you gonna say something?
So they need to badly go all in with the off season.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Before we move on from them, is there one player in particular that you have your eye on for the Knicks this offseason?
I feel they need to kick the tires on potentially bringing Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks.
I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. I don't know, what the deal is with that. I haven't heard his name kicked around with the Knicks in a little while. But, hey, there's obviously been some smoke to that fire the last couple of years. And hopefully he's not happy in Cleveland. And maybe that leads to him getting the heck out of there. So love to see what they have on the horizon over there. But I do want to turn our attention right now to a little NFL. We got some NFL minicamp notes to get into real quick before we round things out here in the next couple of minutes. I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in and sticking with here with me and Bo as we wrap up this episode. But real quick, Dan, on some NFL minicamp notes, there's been mandatory minicamp this week in the NFL. A bunch of different ways teams are doing it this year. But everybody is on the field except right now for a couple of guys. We'll get into it. But talking specifically about the Giants, let's start with them. As me and you discussed this on our Patreon show, tough news for the Giants as tight end Darren Waller retires from the NFL at the age of 31. He's battled injuries the last couple of years. It's been a weird up and down year for him as well, as I believe he got caught cheating on his wife, and they went through a messy divorce. And so there's been a whole bunch of ups and downs for Darren Waller now, but apparently now at the pretty young age of 31, he's calling it a career. And that just sucks for the Giants because he could have been a big safety net for Dale Jones this year.
Yeah, I feel like it was a dumb decision on his part to wait so long to decide to retire. It put us in a now we have a hole in a tight end. Because waited so long. I would have liked to be waiting for this earlier in the offseason before the draft.
See, that I can't argue with you at all. That's 100% true. If he would have told them, they could have at least drafted somebody and had somebody to back up, right?
Or at least they could have made their offseason decisions, brought in someone. But now it's at the point where it's not really enough time to really bring in someone.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance they can get a couple. I'm sure there's a reasonable vet available right now, whether through trade or free agency. I mean, it's not going to be anybody that's going to knock your socks off. It's not going to be an all-pro like Darren Waller was. But, I'm sure the Giants can get somebody. But you're right. This leaves them in a very tough position where they could have made a priority of signing a veteran free agent that, fit their play scheme. And same thing with the draft. They could have found somebody, whether early, they did draft Malik Neighbors, so it wasn't going to happen in the first round. But after that, the Giants had plenty of draft capital to go out there and acquire a tight end. And, because they thought they had one in Darren Waller, they didn't. So, it's just a tough situation that he put them in.
Yeah, and it's just I feel nervous. I feel scared that we're going to have it's going to be another season that I'm going to be lucky that football season starts almost close to around the same time hockey season starts. So at least have that hopefully a good hot start by the Rangers will soften the blow of what could be a long season for the Giants, which I hope.
Yeah, let's hope not. And it was a really bad football season for both of us in 2023. Let's hope that both of our teams rebound in 2024. So unfortunately, that one is a blow to the Giants, but everything else has been pretty typical for them during their mini camp week. On the Jets side, though, there is a little bit of controversy, which is completely media driven. So obviously, the first thing I will say is that Hassan Reddick, the DN they acquired from the Philadelphia Eagles for a future draft pick, is not reporting to camp. They call it an inexcused absence, which I get. That makes sense. It is definitely inexcused. And he's in a contract dispute, which the Jets knew. I've heard this isn't me just saying this. This is common sense, but I want to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt because even though Joe Douglas has done some dumb things here and there, he's for the most part done a lot of really good things for the Jets. And you have to imagine that Joe Douglas, who is very close with Howie Roseman, the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles, you have to know that Joe Douglas, when he made this trade, gave up so little. Let's not forget, it was a 2023. It was a 2026 third-round draft pick. So the Jets didn't give up a lot for Reddick in the first place. And the main reason for that is because you knew you were acquiring a contract dispute. So he's in the final year of his deal. He is one of the top 4 or 5 DNs, pass rushers, in the entire NFL. He's had 4 consecutive 10-sack seasons, and his salary at $14 million is in the 19th overall in the NFL for players in his position, which is ridiculous. This is a guy that could have top 5 salary easily. So you knew he was going to be looking for a contract. He's 29, going on 30 years old. It might be his last big contract and last big chance to cash in. So you have to think that Joe Douglas expected this and will pay him the money that he deserves very quickly. And look, it doesn't matter if he goes to mandatory mini camp. Who gives a shit about that? As long as this is done and resolved by the time the Jets report for training camp at the end of July, I have no problem with this. If this starts dragging into August, then you really have to sit here and say, what the hell was Joe Douglas doing?
Yeah, exactly. I feel they're going to get this one out of the way. It's typical drama when you got players that want a new contract. So I feel this one's going to get out of the way, especially with a GM that knows they have to go all in with a tight window. I say a 2-year window the Jets have, and they're going to go all in on this.
I'm with you, man. I think you nailed it. The Jets are totally in a 2-year window right now, and you can't afford to waste any of it. That window can slam shut when you least expect it. And I just really hope that the Jets are prepared to, hey, you made the trade, now bite the bullet and pay the guy. He deserves it. Figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. It's a situation, pay to me.
Yeah, show me the money. That's what he's saying right now. And, another guy right now who is going to be saying, show me the money, but in a different way, is Aaron Rodgers, the Jets quarterback right now, who is actually missing mandatory minicamp for the 2 days, which, by the way, if you listen to the media, you'd think that this was the worst thing of all time. Aaron Rodgers is guilty of murder. The Jets are completely stupid. This is what, if you listen to the media that covers the Jets right now, this is what you'd think. But the fact of the matter is that Aaron Rodgers has participated in every single offseason activity the Jets have had, whether it was the mini camp prior to the draft, the mini camp after the draft, rookie mini camp even, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, Aaron Rodgers at 19 years in the league right now is not a rookie. So the fact that he was at rookie minicamp tells you a lot about his commitment to the team. And he has every year in June a golf outing that he loves, and he talks about it every year. We even got some video that made a lot of people happy last year in him talking about the Jets and the whole trade and situation last year at his golf event last year at this time. So everybody knows this is happening. He told the Jets weeks in advance, hey, guys, I know you have minicamp scheduled for June 11th and 12th, but I can't make it. And the Jets said, okay, no problem. But it is an inexcused absence, and you are going to be fined. And Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is making $30 million this year, said, okay, no problem. So they're on the same page. They're good. And as long as that's the only thing that matters. Look, if Rodgers had been missing the voluntary mini camps and stuff, and we still weren't too sure how he was looking on that leg, then I would be a lot more concerned. But the fact of the matter is, we just saw Rodgers last week in voluntary minicamp when he didn't have to be there, airing it out and looking like MVP Aaron Rodgers. So how can I sit here and be critical of the guy when he was completely honest and told the Jets everything up front anyway?
Yeah, exactly. He told them up front. Media is just making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true, man. So even though Aaron Rodgers did miss the mini camp, I do want to give him credit for being there for everything else. And look, and even if it was a week-long mini camp and he missed it, I'd be a little bit more annoyed. But it's 2 days. He was there every day last week when he didn't have to be. So take your foot off the brake, Jets media. Take your foot off the gas. As Robert Saleh would say, all gas, no brake. Let's take it easy, tap it, and we'll be fine. The Jets are going to be okay as long as Rodgers stays healthy, and him missing these 2 days in June doesn't deter me from feeling that way at all. Right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. It's not really much. doing everything that's needed to do to get back from this injury. It'll work out fine. The media doesn't need to hit the panic button yet.
Yep, exactly, man. The only thing that does scare me, though, is that I saw that the Jets head coach Robert Saleh was quoted as saying that he and Aaron Rodgers are on the exact same page and there's nothing to worry about. And I don't know why, but that worried me when I heard it. Because usually when Robert Saleh says something, it doesn't usually work out that way. So I don't know. That did worry me a little bit, but I'm still okay.
Yeah, exactly. You're just probably going through everything every Jets fan has gone through at this time of year.
Exactly. And as a Mets fan, you can understand what I'm going through right now.
Yeah, exactly. So believe me, as a Mets fan, I know that feeling. So, and you're going through that with the Jets also. So you got of that going on.
Exactly. See, as a Rangers fan, me and you can both sit back a little bit and trust that our team is going to do the right thing. For the other teams we root for, it's not so easy.
Yeah, exactly. During baseball and like say, well, mostly for you during football season, it's kind of like that. But
yeah, for you that is true. The Giants do you can trust the Giants a hell of a lot more than I can trust the Jets.
Plus that I haven't gone through a long drought of champions.
Yeah.
I only got to see 4 championships in my lifetime. I got to see the last one that happened. I saw it in person.
Very true. Very true. And on that note, everybody, on that championship note, I think we're going to call it a day, everybody. So I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in to another great episode of Best Seat in the House podcast. Dan, before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure. I got to plug my Twitter, Bobo03NYC, Instagram, Bobo7118DK, same username on Threads, YouTube, one word, Daniel Curlin. And also on here, definitely subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll get access to a Trackside Minute I'm filming tomorrow morning, which will be available sometime tomorrow, the Trackside Minute. Also, you get early access to my YouTube videos also. Anytime you see a video me post on YouTube, you Patreon subscribers get to see it 2 weeks early. That's a great.
That's right, everybody. It's only $5. Patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast.
Yep.
We really appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah. That for the cost of a Metro card.
Exactly. Just $5, and you can really help us out. We appreciate all the subscribers we have already and anybody that's thinking about it. So thank you, everybody, once again for tuning in. Don't forget to support our good friend Eastside Dave and the Davey Max Sports Program. Don't forget to check out us on Instagram as well at Best Seat in the House Podcast, on Twitter at BSith_podcast, and check me out there on Twitter as well at my name Cramer NY. So everybody, thanks again so much for all the support. For Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Cramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody, and we'll catch you on Sunday on Patreon.